Well, good morning once again. It's a lovely Friday. I think you might have, if you didn't see it, in the video that we did for Wednesday shopping, where I bought this great new Sony 4K action cam. As I said in that video, one of the things that's been going on is I've had problems with this Panasonic recently, where I've had to pull batteries out to reset the computer inside it because things just glitch out. I've had shutter problems and a few other little minor things. Every time it's come good, but it's just one of those sort of things. We're starting to get a bit of a concern, the fact that something's going to go wrong. Anyway, so this video, I'm going to go through and do some comparatives to this Panasonic. This is the thing I've had for about 3 years. I bought it in Australia. There is a new model out for it. There's a few new models out for it, but let's go through and sort of talk this one. And sort of do some comparisons on the video. I did some night shots last night and a few other things like that. But a lot of people have been asking questions already, so I thought I might as well just cover it. Yeah, so this is now shooting with the 4K camera. Now this 4K camera and most sports cameras that I've come across have this problem when you're shooting in 4K. You get this complete wide angle fisheye lens. Now this can of course be corrected with the software I use for doing the editing. So I'm going to do a bit of a wander around and do some side-by-side shots. One of the features that I did like about this particular camera is the what they call the vivid colour. It's not easy to sort of describe that until I actually do a side-by-side shot, which I'll set up in a minute to do. Yeah, so apart from the fact that I'm going to have to pre-process to get rid of that fisheye style lens with the wide angle shot. The testing I did last night in low light was actually quite good. I won't use that footage. I'll actually sort of do some more footage tonight to give some more comparisons so people can get an idea of that. Now I don't know if I really want to do a walk around the neighbourhood, but just giving you an idea of the greens and the yellows and the blues. And the stability. As I'm walking around, it's got unlike digital stabilization, I think it's it's a cross between a digital stabilization and a gyro stabilization inside the actual lens housing. I looked at that when I was in the Sony store yesterday, on Wednesday, and yeah, it seems to really does stabilize quite well. And what I was looking at, the shots I did last night, it was again showing the fact that a walk around seemed quite stable. Now I'm not really the exercising guy, but like I can do a bit of a run. I don't know how that's going to come out. We'll have to see, but given the fact that we don't really run everywhere when we're filming, we're more than likely doing a brisk walk like this. I think it's not doing too bad, but I'm not even seeing the footage here. I can sort of see the little what they call screen cam that I've got that controls it. We'll go through all the little bits and pieces and features of that shortly. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to stitch this part together, but this is now running both cameras from the same angle, the same shot. Right, again, what we're looking at here is trying to compare the colours and see how they fare out. I'll also swap the audio between one. So this is the audio coming through on the Sony at the moment. Now we're going to turn around and I'm going to digitally manipulate the audio so we hear the audio track now coming from the Panasonic. Getting us an idea of the different levels. I think clarity wise it's okay. I think that the Sony is about 5 dB lower than the Panasonic. Technically 3 dB is like is one level of amplitude higher or something like that. There's some sort of mathematical formula. For every 3 dB the level or the volume is doubled. So yeah, but that's another technical thing I'm not going to go into now. But yeah, so you can definitely sort of see when I looked at the side-by-side audio levels last night, there was definitely sort of more audio coming through on the Panasonic. But yeah, so there we are. That's the side-by-side. And here we're obviously doing a face shot. There's me looking at the Panasonic, there's me looking at the Sony. Again, a wider field of view from the same camera angle lens, or sort of same distance from the face. As I said, the wide angle really sort of makes a difference. When you're shooting in 4K, although I'm only shooting in 1080p here for the comparison, there is the 4K mode. But the 4K mode locks everything into the what do you call it, the wide angle fisheye sort of focus. When you knock it down to the 1080p, it's a different matter. The 1080p gives you sort of what they call the standard framing, like I would get on the Panasonic. There is a like the medium wide angle, which sort of seemed to be working all right last night, but the best low light conditions I found was the fact that when we were shooting in the wide angle, it got the most light onto the image sensor, and so that's probably the best mode to shoot in from my opinion anyway. I'm probably not really helping by, I'm looking between the two cameras, so I'm not actually looking at the lens at all, which makes it even harder to sort of get a focus. But let's go through and dissect the actual pieces of equipment now and have a look at what we got in the package. Okay, so here we are back inside. Okay, the first bits I'll go through is the actual camera itself. Now this is the small camera. I hope I don't lose the damn thing. Yes, I was looking at the DJI Osmo Pocket as an option. I've sort of seen Tim working with that. It's very hard to sort of compare the two audio levels for both because I don't have them side by side, but I do feel that the Sony here has a better audio pickup quality. One of the things that I did look at as the option that was what I was looking for is in the back here we do actually have an audio jack that can plug in an external microphone. And although I've had to order that, it didn't come with the package. I believe that'll come in the next week or two. And again, I really don't know how well they'll work. I've got two audio pickups right now. This is something I bought from AliExpress for the mobile phone a couple of months ago, well 3 or 4 months ago. This doesn't really work very well with this camera. Whereas I was testing with these old Logitech cheapo headphones, headphone microphone set, and just testing the microphone part, and this microphone works extremely well with this camera. So again, it's going to be a bit of a hit and miss because Sony don't really have an aftermarket product that fits this particular camera. I've looked through their catalogue and there's nothing I can see. There were some options, but they were more for their professional line of Handycams. The Handycams has a multi-interface sort of jack on the top of them, but as I think I said in that video, like the camera was 30,000 baht, and then the microphone, which is a wireless microphone, it was another sort of 7,500 baht on top of that. It was just one of those sort of things. I really didn't want to go to that sort of expense. I'm not a bloody millionaire. I know people think I am, but I try to sort of budget carefully and watch my expenses. Anyway, so the package came with obviously the camera. What else did we have? It comes with the waterproof housing, which is good for, I think they said 50 meters. Not that I'm ever going to sort of free dive down 50 metres. And again, I'm not a snorkeler or a tank diver. When I have swum, I've done snorkeling in the past, but really what you're looking at there is maybe going in a pool and shooting in the pool, so you're only about 1 metre below level anyway. Some of the options, as I said, the reason why I bought it, they came with a whole bunch of extras as well. So one of the extras was this handy little gizmo, which is, you lock that into place there like that. I can then sort of take the remote viewer off and whack that on there, and it gives it a nice little, what they call handheld sort of sports camera sort of thing, and it's quite secure when you got your finger through the finger hole, and the finger hole is quite large. I can get my thumb through that without any problem whatsoever. So even ham-fisted blokes will have no problem sort of managing that. Some of the other features. It has this what they call, I don't know what they call that. It's a remote something or rather. What was the actual name they used for it? It's not, well, not worried about the names. You can look all the names and stuff up. The camera itself can be operated completely independently by itself within the camera mode itself. This little device here is something that you can also, this is another of the options that come. It's got a wrist mount, so you can actually wear it on your wrist while you're holding the Handycam, or you can, as I said, I bought this as an extra. This was 1600 baht. I just find that that's a little bit more sturdy for me. But there are sort of other little handles you got for it as well, which make the camera sort of quite portable and easy to manage. But then, of course, you can wear the little remote viewing screen on your wrist with that. So it's a quite simple operation. I think this thing here is going to have power issues because this device here is always listening for this device, even though both are right off now. Pressing the on button, that will actually turn the camera on. It's using Bluetooth. It will now pair between here and the camera, so the camera was always listening. So there is a sort of a subtle power use that's going on. So it's got a little view screen. I've got the brilliance turned down because this device here, when you're recording, has an automatic cutoff at 10 seconds, or you can leave it on automatically. But of course, if you leave that view screen on, it's going to suck up the power because it's displaying a screen. I still don't know what's the best way to run this, but I found it inconvenient with the 10-second cutoff when I was doing the shooting last night. Partly when we took a ride down to the 7-Eleven on the motorcycle, when I actually, to bring the screen back up, you have to press this button again to sort of see what you're shooting. And what I found, it was just taking too long to sort of lock back into what the camera's got. I found that if I actually turned this 10-second timer off for while it's shooting, it actually ran a lot better, and it didn't have that desync problem. So you can pretty much, it's a one button to shoot. You got a little button here, press to start shooting. That'll tell the camera to start shooting. It's also got, when you don't use the remote, you've also got the shoot button here. Pretty much all the features, there's a menu function features on the remote, which will control all the camera features. And the remote features as well. The camera doesn't pair back to the remote, so you do need the remote to have the full range of features if you're using that. The camera itself, it seems to work well. What I spent most of the time last night on was trying to find the best nighttime shot and what worked well. Again, I haven't even done that testing here today, but I think looking at what we had for the night time, I think intuitively this 1080p 50 frames per second with the vivid color option is probably going to be the most optimal daytime shooting, and when I stitch this edit together, then I'll know for a fact whether that's right or not. So stay tuned for when I do the recording after that piece. So there's those. That was the part of the package. What else was there? There was a couple of feet. I got the 64 gig memory, high-speed memory card. I got a second. Oh, elections, oh my God. Every half hour you'll have a truck running up and down telling you who to vote for. Oh God. Yeah, and so yeah, you got an extra battery. That was part of the package. In fact, I think all the bits and pieces and odds and ends that you got with the package comes to about 7,500 baht extra, which sort of made the whole thing, in effect, more appealing than the DJI's My Pocket. Okay, the DJI's My Pocket has that special face tracking feature, which I think is quite handy when you're doing a lot of, in the crowd and a lot of interviews and a lot of, selfie sort of stuff. Again, you can do a lot of that stuff on the edit as well. Okay, so I've just popped outside. I wanted to sort of check. This is just coming up to 6:30 at night. This is what we call it dusk. Just wanted to get a difference in the lighting at this time of the day, because the shots we did this morning were nice and bright. Now we're starting to lose a bit of light. I thought I'd do a bit of a pan around here. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop that and I'm going to swap down to a different frame rate. Okay, so this is now 25 frame rate, 25 frames per second. This will be done side by side. I'm just going to do the same pan around between this and the 50 frames per second, just to get a comparison. Yeah, so another thing I didn't mention, I noticed that the slight breeze was causing a lot of wind vibrations through the condenser mic that's actually built in the camera. You might have noticed there's a little bit of a black spot on the front of the camera when I was showing in the room upstairs. All I've done there is just basically taking one of those foam pieces of foam and put it across the condenser mics. Hopefully that'll reduce a lot of the what they call the wind shock that you get, because I found it was actually quite sensitive to it. Probably the only downside I've found. Okay, so now we're at 7 o'clock at night. This is when it's getting quite dark. I'll do another shot at 7:30, but I want to do the comparison here as well. And I'm going to do a side-by-side of 25 frames per second versus 50 frames per second, just so I can see it for myself for personal reference, and you guys will see it too. Okay, so this is back again. So both cameras are set at 1080p, the Panasonic on the left and the Sony on the right. What I'm doing here is the Sony's now been set back to 25 frames per second, because it does look like I get more light on the sensor compared to the Panasonic. I'm going to do the same pan around again. And there's one more test to do. So we've still got a little bit of light, so I'm going to wait for 7:30 and do the last final comparison between the two cameras. Okay, so here we are for the final nighttime shot. I can see no additional light. The moon's not up yet, so this is probably the darkest, effectively, except we've got street lights. But here we are. I've already done this half an hour ago, and what I could sort of see is there was more light on the Panasonic, but it was very washed out. I think this one here at 25 frames per second, the Sony at 25 frames per second, does come out a lot cleaner. There's a lot more in the view. But yeah, so again, it's it comes down to what you're trying to see and what you're trying to look for. What I'll do now is I'm going to set to a narrow field of view and do that pan again to see if I'm getting any more light in at that level. Okay, so here's the final comparison check between the Panasonic on the left and the Sony on the right. I've now set the field of view to be as close as possible to what I was getting originally on the Panasonic. This is the Sony at the narrow field view. So again, we're doing a pan around. And there we have it. Okay, so what we're doing now is I'm splicing together some of the shots. On the left hand side we've got the Panasonic at its full view. On the right hand side I've got the Sony, but what I've done is I've cropped the picture to roughly the same size. Just what I'm sort of seeing here is a comparison to the light levels being captured, because this is maybe one way I'll get around the lighting issue. This shot now is on the left hand side is the Sony. That's cropping it on the camera in the narrow field view. As you can see, it's grainy, and again on the right hand side it's the Sony, but this is the crop view, trying to compare it. So that wraps up my testing process here between my old camera and my new camera. Look, the old camera's not dead yet. I'm sure it's going to come in handy, and it might be something that Chanya can use when we're out. So the pros are, I think, that the vivid colour on the Sony really sort of does stand out. It really sort of adds some definite richness to the photo, or to the video. The wide-angle lens is something that I've not liked on other videos I've watched when they're using the action cams, but as I said, I've got a nice little tool with the Filmora software where I can straighten those edges, and when you straighten those edges it doesn't look so off-putting, but what it does do there is it gives you a wider field of view, and I think this is something that I've been looking forward to all along. Sort of the Panasonic has what they call a 28 focal length or something, like whatever it is. It's like a standard photo aspect ratio, but it does tend to miss a lot of the stuff that's going on the side. So using the camera, I've got a lot more, using the Sony, I've got a lot more flexibility with cropping images to really focus on the background, or focus on me, or focus on what's going on. So there's going to be more in the photo is what I'm getting at. Downsides, well, the narrow field view in night time, obviously that's just a digital sort of manipulation of what they're sort of getting on the sensor. I was hoping it was going to be actually changing the focal length of the lens to the camera, but it doesn't do that. So again, low light conditions, I can tell I was getting more light and more colour compared to the actual aspect ratio I was getting for the Panasonic. So all in all, it was an expensive buy. I think comparing what I've seen with other videos and other options out there, it's probably in my mind a good buy, especially with the options and the extras we've got with it. The downside, well, there's really no downside. I was hoping that, as I said, that nighttime shot was going to be a lot richer. They did make a big point of that on the display, but I think what they're doing, they're comparing the GoPro with the Sony, and this is where the Sony outshines that. But as I've said all the way along, like I spent 6 months deciding on what camera to buy when I bought the Panasonic, and I bought that for all the features that it had at the time. It was 3 years ago the best handheld camera in my mind available. The only downside with the Panasonic is it didn't have an auxiliary microphone input, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. Mind you, it's not really been a major issue. It just would be nice to have that sort of feature available when we're doing sort of interviews or something like that, so we can have sort of microphones on each person. But as I said, these videos here, we'll probably have, maybe we'll get into more of that sort of stuff down the track. But right now, it's not been a big part of what we've been doing. Anyway, so look, I'm actually quite pleased. Hopefully, you guys got to see the comparisons that I've been looking at there. Maybe it sort of gives you a bit more confidence in looking at this camera as a definite sort of buy option. There's so many choices out there. It's very hard to make a choice, and it takes a bit of time, as you know. It's taken all day to put footage together to try to do some comparatives, an existing to new. And again, if you're going to be looking at buying a new camera, it's not going to be easy where you can't really do that with your existing gear to the new gear, because you haven't bought the new camera, and I'm sure that you're not going to sit there for half a day in a retail shop stitching together all the bits and pieces and doing test shots. So again, you have to look around for other people doing similar types of comparative videos. So hopefully it's offered you something there that's a little bit different from my normal sort of style of video. And again, I'm now trying to do more different styles of video. I'm trying to sort of, again, break out a little bit from the day-to-day Thailand life, which I love doing, and which is what the channel's all about. But I'm really thinking that, we need to sort of see if we can reach a wider audience. Again, offering something else to the audience. It's going to be a bit harder to choose. You're going to have to be a subscriber of the channel and sort of pick and choose what videos you might actually enjoy watching. But as I said, when I get something technical, I'll try to add a technical slant to it. But as I said, over the next few videos and the coming videos, starting from probably tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going out to we got another demonstration day out at the Ride Hub, which is near where I bought the Kawasaki. And again, I believe we've got some demo rides, there's some Harley Davidsons going on. So I'm going to take this camera, and again, it is a lot lighter and a lot more compact. And with the finger grip, it does actually mean that I might get a lot more action sort of type sort of video going. So you never know. I'm pleased with the buy. I don't know what you guys think. I think the audio works quite well. The wind chop that we get, there is a feature on the camera to reduce that, but it also reduces all the low-level sounds. And when I was comparing that audio sampling, it really didn't come out as clear. That noise cancellation that's on the camera it's just not really up to what I would call a good quality. And I might as well just use a mixer if I'm going to have that wind chop. There's certain things I can cut out certain frequencies with an equalizer on my editing software if it comes through. But the little bit of foam that I put on across the bottom there for the stereo audio pickup, that did make a big difference when I did my testing. So it's just one of those sort of things. I'm going to have to get a bit more of that foam because I'm pretty sure that'll wear out probably every couple of months, and I'll have to obviously reapply it. But we never know. Anyway, that's enough for me, and I'll catch up with you guys later. Bye for now.